Hello and welcome. Tonight, DSS files criminal charges against Omoyele Sowore, social media platforms X and Meta over posts critical of President Tinubu. Governor Sanwo-Olu highlights the role of Lagos in positioning Nigeria as a global power by 2030. Atiku Abubakar discusses democracy, security and Nigeria-US relations with the United States ambassador. And UN Commission report accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza.
And on business, Nigeria advocates regional energy integration to cut $120 billion import bill at Africa Oil Week 2025.
On sports news tonight, Kenya's Faith Kipyegon secures 4th world title in women's 1,500 meters, cements her status as the greatest middle distance runner.
And from the nation's capital, troops killed 3 Boko Haram commanders and 8 others in Borno State.
We begin from the courts, where the Department of State Services has filed a 5-count charge at the Federal High Court, Abuja, against the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, Omoyele Sowore. The prosecuting agency listed X Corp, formerly Twitter, and Meta Incorporation, owners of Facebook, as defendants. The DSS had on Monday, September the 8th, handed Mr. Sowore a 1-week ultimatum to delete what it described as a false, malicious and inciting social media post about President Bola Tinubu. The ultimatum expired on Monday without Mr. Sowore deleting the posts, while the social media companies X Corp and Meta Incorporation, who own X and Facebook, failed to oblige a demand by the DSS to delete Mr. Sowore's accounts. The charges were filed on behalf of the DSS and the Nigerian government by the Director of Public Prosecutions at the Federal Ministry of Justice, Mr. Mohammed Abubakar, as well as other lawyers for the DSS. Meanwhile, Mr. Omoyele Sowore has countersued the Department of State Services, the DSS. And Mr. Sowore also joined Meta, owners of Facebook, and X Corp, formerly Twitter, in the lawsuit filed at the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging what he described as unconstitutional censorship of his social media accounts. In the suit filed on his behalf by his lawyer, Tokwe Temokun, Mr. Sowore asked the court to restrain the DSS from directing global social media platforms to delete his posts, including one in which he referred to President Bola Tinubu as a criminal. The suit seeks declarations that the DSS has no legal authority to censor Nigerians on social media, that Meta and X must not allow their platforms to be used as tools of repression, and that Sowore's rights and those of other Nigerians be fully protected against unlawful interference. Lagos State remains a leader for development and innovation in Nigeria and will lead the nation as it thrives to become a world power because it has all it takes to do so. Now, this was the sum of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's remarks as guest lecturer in the first NIIA Distinguished Lecture Series with the theme Lagos and Nigeria 2030, Projections of a World Power. Our correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, now reports.
It's a packed auditorium at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, one of the major landmarks of Nigeria's history and foreign policy drivers. It is no wonder that such an important lecture will be holding here. In attendance are the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Deputy Governor, Dr. Kadri Obafemi Hamzat, senior members of the ruling party in Lagos State, service commanders, traditional rulers, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the NIIA, and special invited guests. The Director General of the Institute, Professor Hossel Saye, welcomes guests by highlighting the uniqueness of Lagos.
Lagos is the heartbeat that a global power has. But most of all, Lagos has been the most blessed of all old states in Nigeria with the best forms of leadership. I'm sure that if you count back and look at what Lagos has achieved over the years, you cannot but recognize that at the core of all that Lagos has achieved is good leadership.
His Excellency.
The governor takes the podium extolling Nigeria's eminence in Africa, her efforts at realizing independence for African countries, and then talks about Lagos State's vision, which fits into the national one.
The Lagos State 30-year plan has been anchored on 4 critical pillars. We want to build a thriving economy. We want to have modern infrastructure in all facets. We want to have a human-centric city in which all the global players in the world will think of a location where they can resource 500,000 tech experts. Think of Lagos, which is a human-centric city. And we also want it to be done with effective governance.
While reiterating Nigeria's growing global influence, he makes projections for a global power.
We must now give the range and the depth of our talents, our endowments, and our potential. We must fully maximize to unlock our power to the fullest, especially in those areas and areas in which we're lagging behind. We must do this while also consolidating and conquering new grounds in the spheres in which we have already demonstrated strength.
The governor's strong projections for Nigeria will certainly outlive his tenure, but his footsteps are sure to remain at the NIIA, where he has committed to the establishment of a foreign policy school as a legacy project. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
Nigeria has unveiled a $3.14 billion United States investment portfolio under the Food and Agriculture Organization's Hand-in-Hand initiative aimed at boosting the country's agricultural potential. The portfolio targets growth in tomato, cassava, maize, dairy and fisheries value chains, all supported by $1.75 billion in public investment and $1.39 billion from the private sector. Our status correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The National and Sub-Regional Hand-in-Hand Investment Forum, co-organized by the Food and Agriculture Organization and the Nigerian government, convenes regional leaders from the Sahel, private sector players, and international organizations to secure funding and partnerships for scaling up agricultural production. With 52.7 million people in West Africa and the Sahel projected to face acute hunger during the 2025 rain season, and Nigeria's emergency level food insecurity expected to rise by 80% from 1 million in 2024 to 1.8 million people in 2025, this forum is a critical step toward addressing these challenges.
It is an opportunity to showcase bankable opportunities, secure stakeholders buy-in, and build the partnerships necessary to mobilize funding for our national and regional priorities.
Nigeria has 70 million hectares of agricultural land, including 34 million hectares of arable land, but only 20% is currently cultivated. The federal government, however, says through policies like the National Agricultural Technology Innovation Policy, it is driving resilient investments in agriculture.
Nigeria presents a robust and a compelling $3.14 billion investment portfolio under the FAO Hand-in-Hand initiative. The average internal rate of return is above 14%. More than 4.1 million Nigerians stand to benefit directly and indirectly.
The European Union also announces investments in Nigeria's agri-food sector.
The EU is investing over 87 million euros through the Value Chain Development and Climate Smart Agriculture Program. And this is part of our broader Team Europe initiative, which supports Nigeria's green economy and is backed by a growing pipeline of projects worth nearly 1.5 billion euros.
Vice President Kashim Shettima highlights the Tinubu administration's plan to create 21 million jobs in rural and agrarian communities.
We have re-engineered the enabling environment to attract and sustain capital by reforming policies and regulations, improving the ease of doing business through single-window platforms for land registration, strengthening our investment promotion agencies, and deepening public-private partnerships to deliver critical infrastructure. At the top of these interventions stands our National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, which has set forth ambitious but achievable targets. This blueprint seeks to lift 35 million Nigerians out of poverty, to create 21 million full-time jobs in rural and agrarian communities, and to secure national food and nutrition sufficiency through deliberate and strategic investments in agriculture.
Thank you. As the three-day event unfolds, the emphasis on mobilizing resources and innovative solutions aims at empowering rural communities across the Sahel and enhance agricultural productivity through improved irrigation farming, more resources and investments. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
President Bola Tinubu is back in Abuja after his work vacation in France. The president was received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport by a delegation led by the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, the Chief of Staff to the President, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edu, and others. The President had departed for France on September the 4th to spend part of his annual holiday and was initially scheduled to divide that period between France and the United Kingdom. According to the statement signed by the Special Advisor on Strategy and Information, Bayo Ononuga, on Monday, President Tinubu had last week in Paris held a private luncheon with his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is a strong critique of the current administration, today paid a courtesy visit to the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Richard M. Mills Jr., at the American Embassy in Abuja. Wondering what the visit is all about? Well, Mr. Abubakar simply put it down to discussions in the areas of democracy, security, and shared prosperity. Speaking further on the thematic areas discussed at the meeting, Mr. Abubakar, in a statement issued by his media aide, goes on to say that the living conditions of Nigerians have continued to deteriorate despite government claims of reforms. Electricity generation may be getting a lifeline as the federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, that's the REA, the Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria, and the Budget Office, has signed an agreement for local manufacturing of lightweight solar panels in Nigeria. The government expects that the local manufacturing of these solar energy equipment will enhance the country's energy transition drive and create employment for thousands of citizens.
The Director General of the Budget Office, the Managing Director of the Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria, and the Director General of the Rural Electrification Agency are in this meeting for the enhancement of Nigeria's renewable energy drive. The business of the day is the signing of a memorandum of understanding with Solage, a renewable energy equipment manufacturing company, to establish a plant in Nigeria.
Today, we are taking it further by signing this investment and offtake agreement. The investment for the development of potentially 1 gigawatt of PV panel manufacturing plant in Nigeria, and also the Rural Electrification Agency working to make sure that Nigeria becomes the renewable hub of Africa. It's working with all the different government agencies.
The benefits of the agreement to Nigeria's quest for a sustainable and affordable clean energy is highlighted.
For decades, ministries, departments, and agencies have been trapped in a vicious cycle. Diesel generators that drain overheads and run for only hours in a month. Grid electricity that is unreliable, yet leaves MDAs in perpetual arrears. This is why we say solarization transforms energy spending into investment.
The project itself is also a catalytic investment because it feeds into the entire supply chain development that we have to do in our country in order to actually have an independent, sustainable electricity supply industry.
The high point of the meeting is the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. Apart from creating job opportunities for citizens, the federal government by this agreement hopes to scale up local manufacturing of green energy solutions and reduce importation of solar energy equipment in the country.
In part two after the break, ahead of its 55th anniversary, UNILAG Alumni Association seeks a new funding model for the nation's education sector. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. DSS files criminal charges against Omoyele Sowore, social media platforms X and Meta over posts critical of President Bola Tinubu. Governor Sowore highlights the role of Lagos in positioning Nigeria as a global power by the year 2030. Atiku Abubakar discusses democracy, security and Nigeria-US relations with the United States ambassador. And United Nations Commission report accuses Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. How to improve Nigeria's education sector will be on the front burner when the University of Lagos Alumni Association meets for its 55th anniversary in October this year. The president worldwide of the UNILAG Alumni Association, Engineer Ifeoluwa Oyedele, made this known during a media briefing where the association unveiled activities for the celebration. Engineer Oyedele calls for a new funding model for Nigeria's education sector, urging everyone to join hands to rescue the education system.
We must be truthful to commend the federal government of Nigeria for some of the bold steps it has taken, including the establishment of NELFON, which has made it possible for indigenous students in Nigeria to continue with their education without any break. And also, recently the federal government also approved full scholarship for students in technical education at all levels. We call on government at all levels to make education the true priority it deserves to be. Policy declarations must translate into sustained funding, accountability, and implementation. We also call on private sector and those who are blessed to see investments in education not as charity, but as enlightened self-interest.
Engineer Oyedele then announced some of the major highlights of the anniversary celebration.
This year's edition is particularly significant because it marks our 55th anniversary awards and recognition dinner. It will take place on Friday, 17th of October 2025 at the Equities Hotel and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos. We are honored that the special guest of honor will be His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. The chairman of the occasion is Olorogun Dr. Sonny Kuku, OFR, Fellow Academy of Sciences, the Ogbeni Oja of Ijebuland. I will be the chief host, and of course, you expect that the Vice Chancellor, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, FAS, OON, will be beside us.
So let's switch gears and head to the nation's capital, and Millicent Walker is standing by right about now to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Millicent, over to you.
That's right. Many thanks, Ayotunde. We head to security now in Borno State. Troops of the Nigerian military operating around the Lake Chad region have killed 2 members of the ISWAP terrorist group during an attempted ambush across Kawa. The two members killed were identified as Modugo Dogo Munzia of Dogon Chukun and Abu Aisha Kaid of Tubun Mota. 8 other terrorists were also neutralized in the failed ambush, which saw the terrorists detonate a command improvised explosive device on Monday. A statement by the theater command states that a gun battle ensued after the bomb blast, forcing the terrorists to flee with varying degrees of injuries, leading to the recovery of 14 motorcycles and several rounds of ammunition. The statement adds that 2 gun trucks that could not be extricated due to terrain conditions were subsequently destroyed around the Algarno with support from the Multinational Joint Task Force Intelligence Support Response Platform. Meanwhile, as part of efforts to stem the tide of insecurity in the country, a commander of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB and its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, ESN, identified as Ifeanyi Eze Okorienta, popularly known as Gentle de Yahoo, has been arrested. Security sources say Okorienta was captured by troops of the 34 Artillery Brigade in a joint operation with sister security agencies at his hideout in Okigwe local government area of Imo State. According to military sources, the operation led to the recovery of a cache of arms and ammunition, as well as a German flag. The source adds the troops also uncovered a workshop used for dismantling stolen vehicles for resale and destroyed 10 motorcycles found at the scene. Away from security, the federal government is again reaffirming its commitment to ensuring that all Nigerians are captured in the nation's national identity base in order to promote a secure, inclusive and digitally empowered Nigeria. Speaking in Abuja on the occasion of the National Identity Day celebration, President Bola Tinubu says the federal government is determined to recreate a Nigeria where every citizen's identity is recognized, verifiable and protected.
For the 7th time, the National Identity Management Commission is celebrating the National Identity Day as Nigerians from all walks of life converged on the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center to mark the day. The Director General of the Commission sets the tone for the event as she allays the fears of Nigerians over identity and data theft.
Attempts to filtrate all of our databases have failed, but these efforts have led to false claims that our database has been compromised, with rumors circulating that people's data is being laundered.
Statistics of enrollment is ruled out as part of activities marking the day.
As part of our commitment to the SDG 16.9 goals, NIMC has made tremendous progress in inclusion, with over 123 million Nigerians now enrolled in the National Identification Database.
The need for Nigerians to be captured in the nation's database is also emphasized.
As a supervisory minister, I will say that based on the initiatives, ability to think out of the box, I think NIMC has done fantastically well. NIMC, my last charge to you, your ministerial charge, go, deliver, keep making us proud, let Nigeria be greater for it, let renewed hope not be a dream, let it be a reality in identity journey.
Determined to ensure that no Nigerian is left behind in the journey towards development, the federal government reaffirms its commitment to enroll all Nigerians.
As President, I reaffirm my administration's commitment to these goals. But government cannot do it alone. Achieving a truly robust identity ecosystem requires collaboration. The benefits of a secure and trusted identity system are immense. For our economy, it means greater inclusion, better planning, and stronger financial systems. For security, it means accurate identification, reduced criminal exploitation, and more effective protection of our people.
The National Identity Day celebration, with the theme Public Key Infrastructure, Backbone to Digital Public Infrastructure, is an annual event aimed at sensitizing Nigerians on the need to be captured in the nation's database.
In other stories, the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says President Tinubu has launched an unprecedented nationwide distribution of free medicines and medical supplies to vulnerable communities nationwide. speaking in Abuja at the official flag-off of the distribution and essential drugs to states. Professor Patti says all sectoral targets that were set in 2023 are now being met according to plan, bringing quality health services closer to Nigerians.
I believe that with this effort, the access to quality health services will be much closer to our people, no matter where they live and no matter who they are. And the journey is not that for government alone. I call on all Nigerians to join us in protecting their primary healthcare centers and supporting the healthcare workers in the front lines. Own and treat the facilities as theirs, so that the equipment and the supplies that we're providing are devoted to serve the interests of the people. I don't want to see or hear diversions, misapplication of those products, because these are contributions, but they are meant for the people.
Meanwhile, the Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Muyi Aino, describes the intervention as a landmark step in actualizing the renewed hope agenda for the health sector.
We also commenced the distribution of maternal and newborn health commodities, and just a few weeks ago we also did the same for coaching equipment, solar direct drive. Back to this equipment, Honorable Minister, we have 56 different primary healthcare relevant medical equipment here. They include heat ovens, incubators, diagnostic equipment like binocular microscopes, autoclave machines, delivery beds, portable ultrasound machines, and all. All in all, we have bundled them into the complement of equipment that each primary health center will need for to be level 2, and we have enough to go to 500 facilities.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria advocates energy integration to cut $120 billion import bill at Africa Oil Week 2025. That's on Business News. Do join us again. You're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from our Abuja studios. The West Africa Container Terminal has strengthened its investment in education with the commissioning of a renovated and furnished 10-unit teachers' quarters in Ogun, River State. The project, originally completed in 2012, has now been upgraded to provide a more conducive living environment for teachers in the host community.
Just days after commissioning a plastic waste recycling center in Onne, Eleme local government area, the West African Container Terminal, WACT, is extending its outreach to Ogu, another of its host communities in Rivers State, with the inauguration of a renovated teachers' quarters. The 10-unit building originally completed in 2012 and is now being upgraded and furnished to meet modern standards. At the event, the managing director of WACT, Mr. Jatho Jose, represented by the Chief Finance Officer of APM Terminals Nigeria, says the project reflects the company's commitment to advancing education in its host communities.
We believe that these teachers, our teachers, need to be taken care of. If they are not in the right frame of mind, the impact on our students, on our dear students who are our leaders of tomorrow, will be minimal, and we do not want that. And with the rising cost of accommodation, we hope that finding a suitable shelter by this means of this project will help our teachers give the best to our young students. Right, on the count of 3, 1.
It's now time for the major reason for the gathering. Speaking afterwards, the company's community relations manager explains the motivation for the project.
This project actually also falls within our 4 thematic areas of intervention, because we work on the area of education, the area of health and environment, training and development, and also infrastructure development. So this is an infrastructure that we have actually embarked upon to assist the community to also grow further.
And then commendations from traditional leaders, women and youths in Ogu, who described the gesture as impactful.
Across the state,
they are short of teachers in various subjects, and youth corpers have been so youthful. And when youth corpers are posted to a community and there are no accommodation, they find it difficult to stay. But with these facilities, they will be comfortable, they will concentrate in their teaching. So it's going to create a lot of impact.
I've been a beneficiary of everything by the grace of God they are doing in this place, and it has really helped us. Our women are also appreciating you. They said I should tell you thank you for coming to the community to empower our people to learn how to paint. Look at the wonderful painting they did here also.
With the commissioning of the Ogu Teachers' Quarters in Ogu Bolo local government area, WACT reaffirms its position as not just a business operating in Rivers State, but as a development partner actively contributing to the social and educational advancement of its host communities.
And that's it from the nation's capital. Over now to Ayatunde for more on the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Millicent. Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals Company has commenced the deployment of compressed natural gas trucks for the direct distribution of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, throughout Nigeria. Speaking at the press conference to mark the first anniversary of petrol production from the $20 billion, 650,000 barrels per day refinery, President and Chief Executive of Dangote Petroleum Refinery, Aliko Dangote, explained the CNG trucks would create at least 24,000 jobs across the country.
Announcing the historic feat at the refinery complex in Lagos, President and Chief Executive of Dangote Petroleum Refinery, Aliko Dangote, who was flanked by the Vice President, Edwin Devakuma, and other top management staff of the company, kickstarts the interaction, which is described as a day of celebration.
Today is a day of celebration. We don't want to be distracted. When you are in Damaturu or in Maiduguri or you are in Yanagua, just pay. When you pay, we will deliver to you. You only pay what you receive. We are doing quite a lot of adjustment, changes, and code that I believe our capacity will go up. And based on what we have shown you before, we can produce even more.
The rollout of these trucks, according to the CEO of the refinery, will lead to the creation of at least 24,000 jobs with better conditions of service for the drivers, which underscores the company's commitment to pioneering innovative solutions by the world's largest single-train refinery.
You are saying that there will be lots of jobs. Are our own tankers going to be driven by robots? There are no robotic trucks now. There are trucks that, yes, and by the time you take a workshop manager, mechanical, electrical, okay, people who look after tires, people who look at logistics, movement of the trucks, dispatch, back office, every truck is about 6 people. The best option that I believe, if people now really want this market to open, is to encourage, not only us, is to encourage everybody. We did not stop anybody. There are over 30 licenses that were issued. So those people who are making noise, they should also go and put up plants. By end of October, all the 4,000 tankers will be here. But by end of November, we'll have total on the road 10,000, I think 250.
You can see the loading on.
The company says this development will revitalize and modernize the logistics value chain in the downstream subsector of the petroleum industry in Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, has been playing host to the glitz and glamour of the Africa Luxury Expo 2025, a gathering that brings together some of the world's finest brands alongside African designers and entrepreneurs. From fashion to fine art, the two-day event put the spotlight on Africa's growing role in the world of high-end living. Our correspondent Will Ibom reports.
Nigeria is fast becoming a magnet for luxury, and this week, Lagos set the stage for conversations that could redefine Africa's place in the global high-end market. Here in Lagos, the Lux Africa Expo brings under one roof global and local names. But beyond the sparkle and design, the real question is, can Africa define its own luxury future? From art and fine wine to jewelry and couture, the Africa Luxury Expo 2025 unfolded over 2 days. Exhibitors tell the story behind their craft.
Lux Afrique Boutique is an international boutique that sells luxury goods across all 54 countries in Africa, and we deliver it to within 3 to 7 working days to anyone who purchases any brand from our website. Anybody that obviously want to buy them, they don't have to jump on a plane to go to Dubai or to Europe to buy them. They can easily go to our website, purchase them, and then we can deliver them directly to their home anywhere in Africa.
As you have been navigating this business,
Panels and workshops ask how the continent can move from consumer to creator. And some key issues could not be pushed aside.
In this last year alone, I'm hoping the people in this room can help me. I'm going to ask you a question. You tell me. How many times has the rate changed between the dollar and the naira?
We don't have any infrastructure where luxurious African retail can flourish.
But can Made in Africa really make the cut?
We're going to be handpicking local brands that we feel pass the luxury level. They have the quality, the authenticity, the product level, the creativity, and we'll be handpicking those brands, and we'll be working with them collaboratively to help promote them, not just here, but globally on a global platform.
I 100% believe that we can and we do have luxury in Africa. The problem is not the absence of it. The problem is our recognition of it. We don't recognize it.
In the next 5 to 10 years, I see us dominating. We're dominating the music scene. I think we'll get there with fashion, and we'll also get there with film in the near future.
7,000 gonna sell. So
the excitement peaked at the live Bonhams auction, where rare pieces were snapped up by collectors.
And it's all right. That's okay.
So what is clear here from this expo and the conversations we've had so far is that luxury is no longer just imported into Nigeria. It's being defined here, sold here, and increasingly invested in here. For many exhibitors here, this isn't the finish line. It's one more step in building a luxury brand rooted in Africa. Will Ibong, Channels Television News.
So we now go to Will Ibong for more on business news. Will.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Senator Heineken Lukobiri, has announced the creation of a West African Reference Markets WARM, which is an initiative to leverage Nigeria's growing refining capacity to supply petroleum products across West Africa and beyond. He made this known today at the ongoing Africa Oil Week 2025 Ministerial and CEO Leadership Forum holding in Accra, Ghana, where he reaffirmed Nigeria's leadership in driving Africa's energy security. The minister highlights that Africa spends over $120 billion annually on hydrocarbon imports due to heavy reliance on imports, and stressed that these funds should remain within the continent to fuel regional development priorities. And the Kaduna State government has signed a $120 million agreement with African Industries Group of Romania to revolutionize irrigation farming in Gurara and establish a state-of-the-art greenhouse project. Governor Obasani sealed the deal during a working visit to Bucharest. He said the partnership will unlock Kaduna's vast agricultural potential, boost food security, and create jobs for young people. The project will also support the state's push to become an export-driven agro-hub. Governor Sani adds that Romania's strong agricultural expertise and European market access will help position Kaduna as a major player in global agro-industrial trade. Now we're checking with the domestic equities market, which pulled back in today's trading as investors continue cautious trading. Laddie Williams tells us more.
Well, cautious trading set the tone on the Nigerian exchange today as the market slipped by 7 basis points, trimming recent gains and keeping investors on edge. And that's after the better than expected inflation numbers for August yesterday, about 20.12%. And we see just a blip there. We're still holding on to 141,000 for the all-share index. All right, let's look at what's playing out with the sectoral performance now. We see banking, consumer goods were hit today, 0.30% down. Consumer goods 0.34% down. But the lone gainer for the sectors that we track, we see the oil and gas there. We see Owando, which provides integrated energy solutions. That was able to keep the oil and gas counter up by 0.14%. Let's get a check on the top trades now. Stocks that got a lot of attention. We see GTCO, financial services giants there, the tier 1 banks, UBA, 26 million units. That was traded. And for GTCO, 32 million. And we also see the likes of tech company there with 32 million, just like GTCO. So with the market easing just 7 basis points, investors will be watching closely to see whether this is simply a pause in momentum or a start of a deeper pullback.
And that's business news. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thanks, Will. A UN Commission of Inquiry says Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. A new report says there are reasonable grounds to conclude that 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined under international law have been carried out since the start of the war with Hamas. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israel has launched its long-planned major ground offensive on Gaza City, conducting heavy airstrikes overnight as troops pushed into the edges of the enclave. Thousands of Palestinians have been forced to flee down a single coastal road to the centre of the Strip, joining hundreds of thousands who have already fled. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said a powerful operation had been launched against Hamas's last major stronghold.
I think we have a very short window of time in which a deal could happen. We don't have months anymore, and we probably have days and maybe a few weeks, so it's a key moment, an important moment.
Meanwhile, a United Nations Commission of Inquiry says Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. It cites statements by Israeli leaders and the pattern of conduct by Israeli forces as evidence of genocidal intent. Israel's foreign ministry said it categorically rejected the report, denouncing it as distorted and false.
It took 2 years to reach this conclusion. Our mandate requires us to share this information with judicial bodies, such as the ICC, such as states holding national prosecution. It's not only that, we would not put anything there that we are not satisfied with. It's easy to proclaim the outcome, genocide is happening. We went to the facts first. The facts must tell us that, yes, there's the intention. So we looked at statements made by the Israeli authorities indicating genocidal intent, and we looked at the pattern of conduct of Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces to show that genocidal intent was the only reasonable inference. That test, that it must be the only reasonable inference.
A judge in New York State has dismissed 2 terrorism charges against Luigi Mangione, the alleged killer of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He said prosecutors had failed to establish that there was enough evidence to justify terrorism-related murder charges that they sought against him. Mangione is accused of gunning down Thompson on a busy Manhattan street in December last year. In addition to the New York State criminal proceedings, Mangione also faces federal murder charges, which could lead to the death penalty. Donald Trump has said he will sue the New York Times for €15 billion over what the US president calls defamation and libel. It comes a week after he threatened to sue the paper over its reporting of a suggested note and drawing he allegedly gave to paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He said it had become a mouthpiece for the radical left Democratic Party. Mr. Trump added that his lawsuit was being launched in Florida, a Republican stronghold. A Kenyan High Court has issued an arrest warrant for a British national suspected of murdering a 21-year-old woman more than a decade ago. Agnes Wanjiru was killed in March 2012 and her body later found in a septic tank of a hotel in the central garrison town, Nanyuki, nearly 3 months after she had allegedly spent an evening partying with British soldiers. Justice Alexander Muteti said prosecutors had provided sufficient evidence to request that the suspect appear before a Kenyan court for trial. Greece has announced the recovery of artefacts from the wreck of HMHS Britannic, more than a century after the Titanic's sister ship was sunk in wartime in the Aegean Sea by a German mine. An 11-member team of professional deep-sea divers with closed-circuit equipment conducted the recovery, organised by British historian Simon Mills, founder of the Britannic Foundation. Among items retrieved and lifted with airbags were the ship's lookout bell, binoculars, ceramic tiles from Turkish baths, and equipment from first and second class cabins.
Introducing Robert Redford. Okay, Pop, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry.
And the US acting legend Robert Redford has died at the age of 89.
What's the matter with you?
His role alongside Paul Newman in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid catapulted him to stardom in 1970. He won an Academy Award for Best Director in 1980 for Ordinary People and was also known for founding the Sundance Film Festival in Utah. Redford's other roles included The Candidate, All the President's Men, Indecent Proposal, and The Way We Were. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. We begin from the tracks where Kenya's Faith Kipyegon has again underlined her credentials as the best middle distance runner of all time in Tokyo with her 4th World 1,500 meters title at the World Athletics Championships earlier today. The Kenya's triumph in Tokyo in 3 minutes 52.15 seconds further cemented her grip on the event of the global stage, the 31-year-old having also won the 3 last Olympics. Now, since August 2020, Kipyegon has totally dominated the event. We're staying at the competition. American Cordell Tinch capped a fine season by winning the men's 110 meters hurdles at the World Championships earlier today. Tinch clocked 12.99 seconds for gold, ahead of Jamaican duo of Orlando Bennett and Tyler Mason, who each timed personal bests of 13.08 seconds and 13.12 seconds. Let's on to the UEFA Champions League now, where Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard came off the bench to score as Arsenal beat Spanish side Athletic Club to get their campaign off to a winning start. Elsewhere, Union Saint-Gilloise enjoyed a dream debut with a historic success, beating PSV Eindhoven 3-1 at the Philips Stadium. In other matches, Azerbaijani professional football club Karabakh came from 2 goals down to defeat Portuguese giants Benfica, and Juventus and Borussia Dortmund produced an 8-goal thriller which ended 4-4 at the Allianz Stadium in Turin, while Kylian Mbappe scored 2 penalties as 10-man Real Madrid battled to a 2-1 victory over Marseille. Calamicio's 4th minute mistake by Villarreal goalkeeper Luis Junior sealed a narrow 1-0 victory for Tottenham Hotspur. Well, staying with the Champions League, Bayern Munich striker Harry Kane says facing English opposition makes him want to play better ahead of Wednesday's home Champions League opener against Chelsea. The 32-year-old former Spurs striker believes with his historic rivalry with Chelsea would add a little more spice to the showdown this Wednesday.
To win the best competitions and the Champions League especially. You know, we've done okay in the competition over the last couple of years, but ultimately, you know, if we don't win it, there's always going to be a bit of disappointment. So I wouldn't say that we're underdogs, but you know, you're playing against the best teams in Europe, so there's a lot of hard work from now until hopefully that moment in May. Maybe the Chelsea fans don't like me as much, and when we play Arsenal, the Arsenal fans don't like me as much, but that makes me want to play better. That motivates me. So yeah, look, there's going to be some familiar faces that I played against, some that I play with England. So all those things added, it just brings a little something special around the game.
by winning striker Harry Kane. Well, that's sports. I'm Kelly. Giga is back to you today.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The Department of State Services, the DSS, has filed criminal charges against Omoyele Sowore, social media platforms X and Meta, over posts critical of President Bola Tinubu. And Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu today highlighted the role of Lagos in positioning Nigeria as a global power by the year 2030. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun, and you have a good night.